the shots and looked out the window and saw our enemies. Guards let them in and came up the stairs.
Lock the door.
It doesn't lock.
Hiram, I'm dead.
Oh, my poor, dear brother Hiram.
Hiram was shot in the face and then in the back. Joseph drew his pistol and shot through the doorway. Not all the charges worked. Brother Taylor then stood by the door and knocked down the gun barrels as they were thrust into the room to fire.
Excellent, Brother Taylor. Carry them off as well as you can.
Out the window. It's our only hope.
Carthage Grays outside fired into the window. Brother Taylor fell back, and at that moment, Joseph leaped to the window.
Oh, Lord. My God.
Shoot him. Make sure of it.
Behold, a man in a thicket.
Why did they kill the prophet, Grandpa? Why?
The mob Sodom, they killed the prophet Joseph. The rest of the Mormons would just go away.
That was done. We're still here, you know.
Here, Preston. Let me comb your hair and fix you up a bit. You want to look good with me and your great-grandma Sally, don't you? I know you're... It was a long, old-buggy ride all the way from Snowflake to St. George, and we are a bit rumpled.
Why'd you call Joseph Smith and ram in the thicket?
That comes from a Bible story where the Lord provided Abraham with a ram out of the thicket to sacrifice instead of Isaac. So anyone who's willing to sacrifice for another could be called a ram in the thicket. In fact, Brigham Young often refers to the Mormon Battalion as a ram in the thicket because their sacrifice saved the church.
Is the Mormon Battalion the earth responsible?
Yes, and his mother Phoebe also.
He died on time.
Yeah, but about 30 years ago. About the same time we left Utah to come to Arizona.
Battalions do.
Oh, look, there's Grandma Sally right there. Let's ask her to tell us.
Is that? Why, Izzy, Alma Zamara. It's so good to see you, son.
Mother, this is your oldest great-grandson, Preston Palmer.
Oh, Preston, I've waited so long to meet you. My, you're a handsome boy.
Grandma says you can tell me some stories about the Mormon
Oh,
Battalion.
we'll talk about that later.
I'll say that. I'm so glad you're able to come.
Ma Palmer, nothing can keep me away. How are you? You're looking so healthy.
Never mind me. How about my two daughters that married in the old Karchner family? How are you all doing down in Arizona?
Take that! And that! And don't come back! I'm General Zamira! There's no way that you'll get away, because I'm the Great Zamira! That's my name! And don't forget it!
Preston,
Uncle Sally! How long you been there?
long enough, Preston, long enough. I think we need to have a talk. Let's go over here and sit down. You best bring the sword along. You like it, don't you?
Oh yes, Grandma Sally, it's great!
Did you know that this was your great-grandpa Zamira's sword?
Yeah, and he was a real famous general, wasn't he?
No, Preston, he was never general, nor famous.
He wasn't?
hero was a common man, a kind and loving common man, busy all the time, his job was never done. In between the chores, he found the time for fun, and through the good times and the bad, we never saw him sad. His only thought was to provide for everyone. Never made his story that he lived decently. He never faltered or gave out from that unwillingness to serve, and those known famously used him with jealousy and wished that they could someday be just like that common man.
Okay, he wasn't famous, but
Perhaps this will help you understand. You see, this is a common military sword. Now, if you were in a battle, would you want this common sword that was made strong to be used in real combat? Or some pretty decorative sword made of soft metal?
I would want the strong sword, of course.
Exactly. Now think of the sword and ask yourself, who do you want to be the heroes in your life? The heroes facing common strife, passing through this war called life, fighting to survive the evils of the day. Seek weapons that will keep the enemy away. Will you want to take your side, the famous full of pride, or will it be the sturdy, stalwart common man?
Never made history, yet he lived decently. He never faltered or gave out from lack of willingness to serve.
When your time comes around, I hope that you'll be found to be just like that sturdy, kind and loving common man. The stories need to be written. The stories need to be told. So the lives of the ordinary can be the heroes to the children of their own.
I think I understand. But where did Tamara get his sword?
I can see I need to tell you Zamira's story. Let's go over to the porch. There's a book I have that we can look at with pictures that will help you understand as your grandmother and your grandfather help me tell you the stories of your great-grandpa Zamira. Azy, why don't you start? Tell Preston how it all began.
Okay. When your great-grandpa Zamira was just a boy, his mother, Phoebe Palmer, was baptized by Brigham Young in Canada. Her husband George died shortly thereafter, so she packed up her family and moved with her parents to Curtin. Later, they moved on to Missouri, where she met Ebenezer Brown, and at the time was married to him.
In Missouri, there was so much hatred toward the Mormons that the governor issued an extermination order, which gave the mobs permission to kill any Mormon who would either deny his faith or leave the state.
Once again, the Saints moved, this time to Nauvoo. Grandma Sally, Phoebe, and Zamira were all there when the mob murdered the prophet Joseph. And hardly was Jim.
Just a few years later, they took part in that historic exodus when the Saints started their trek to the west.
snow was deep on the ground. The logs forced many of us from our homes.
Some without food, some with only the clothes on their back, some without shoes on their feet. In those icy, windy, and cold conditions, 6 babies were born on that first night.
We received help from the Lord when the Mississippi River froze over and allowed many of the saints to cross the river on a bridge of ice.
It didn't take very long before nearly everyone had been chased out of Nauvoo. Then, in small groups, we started our trek west.
I'll never forget that first look back. As each wagon topped the hill going away from Nauvoo, we would stop and take one last look at the beautiful city we had built.
Now it was being destroyed by drunken robbers. We could see our homes and farms, and we could see the temple up on the hill. The sacrifice was almost more than we could endure. More saints died that first winter on the trail between Nauvoo and winter quarters than on all the rest of the pioneer treks combined during the next 30 years.
My father, Little Knight, was one of those that died that first year.
Weather and lack of supplies slowed them down considerably. It took them nearly 4 months to get to Council Bluffs, Iowa. That's only 300 miles. The very next year, it took the Saints only 2 months to travel the remaining 1,000 miles to the Salt Lake Valley.
It was June of 1846 when the first wagons arrived at Council Bluffs. Later we built log cabins and called the place winter quarters. It's here that Zamira's story really begins.
The U.S. had just declared war on Mexico and sent Colonel Allen to ask us for volunteers.
Having just been driven out of Nauvoo by the government, we didn't take too kindly to the request.
But the privilege of going where we can worship God according to the dictates of our own conscience, we must raise this battalion. We need 500 men to leave their families to go fight for their country in the war with Mexico. The money you receive and send to loved ones left behind is the means that God provides us to survive. You are the ram in the thicket. You are the sacrifice God meant to be. Your willingness to pass this test will help us all to reach the best, and this battalion is forever called to be. To those of you leaving to go on this battalion, I say, remember your prayers. Keep the commandments. Let virtue and cleanliness be strictly observed. And men, leave your cards home. Treat everyone with kindness. Never take that which does not belong to you, and never take a life that can be avoided. I promise you that your families will be cared for. I promise you that if you are faithful, you shall pass through this experience without a shot being fired. And I prophesy that men and nations will rise up and bless you who go on this battalion. And you will never be forgotten, but you will be held in honorable remembrance forever and ever.
Boy, haven't I already turned you down 3 times?
Yes, sir, but my mother is going, and I am very strong for my age.
Son, I like your determination. What is your name?
Samira Palmer, sir.
Samira, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you go as my personal assistant, but you're going to have to carry your own knapsack and your own musket, and you're only going to get 1/2 rations. If you can meet those conditions, then you can go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Boy, who are you and what in the world are you doing?
Play the bass, sir. I'll play the drums, sir. I'm a good drummer, sir. I'm strong, sir. I can take care of myself, sir.
Hey! Did you hear what I just told Samira?
Yes, sir.
Now, how did I know he's going to say that? Pace, if you can make the same conditions, then you can go.
Okay, yes, sir.
Now, both of you, run to your homes, get your knapsacks, and meet me here in 1 hour.
Yes, sir.
Mother, they still haven't been a volunteer. I just turned 18, and I feel that I must go.
Troubles have come upon me with heartaches unexplained. Since arms took your brother, words can't ease the pain. For it seems that life's against me, and I feel I can't go on. How could I ever manage if you were gone?
Reason though that I must go, I love you, Mother dear. I'll help you more, protect you more than I could if I stayed here. God is near, and He will be until you back again. He hears me, He knows me, He'll help you understand, and you will never be alone. No, you will never be alone, for you are God's own child.
And He will
will carry you and hold you in his arms.
God is near.
God is near.
God is near.
God will always be with you.
Delights in the harmonious sounds of the human voice and the musical instruments, and of both combined. Now I say to you, if you want to dance, go ahead and dance. You'll be just as prepared for a prayer meeting after dancing as you were before, if you were saints. Therefore, let us dance to exercise our bodies, to allow our minds to rest.
Lydia, are you coming too? Well, we've only been married 6 months.
I knew William would sign up.
If he must go, I want to go.
Why should we stay behind and worry about our husbands when we might just as well march beside them?
Well, I know Ebenezer can take care of himself, but with Myra going, I'm going too.
Well, it means more walking. At least I brought my washtub from Nauvoo.
Oh, Nauvoo.
Far away from our homes back in Nauvoo, where we left our hearts and everything we ever knew. Here on the plain
behind me. And now I'm bound for Mexico, where the men may guide me and take me safely back again to the life behind me. Until I see my love again, for my heart is brave. If ever I return that way, we should not behind me. I evermore will live and sing through life behind me.
They had to march all the way to Fort Leavenworth before they got their supplies, which included tents and blankets. But on the way they ran into some terrible hailstorms. Without protection, many of them got sick, including Colonel Allen, who died at the fort. After that, Lieutenant Smith and Dr. Sanderson, both from Missouri, took charge of the battalion. They did not like the Mormons and went out of their way to make life miserable for them. Zamira was now assigned to Dr. Sanderson, whom the men called Dr. Death.
Get out of that wagon! Now who are you and what do you think you're doing?
I'm Lieutenant Rowe. My friend's name is Joseph Richards.
And I'm Uncle Phelps, sir. We've been sick ever since the hailstorm, and we ain't getting any better, thanks to Dr. Death.
Well, I'm gonna tie a rope around your neck and haul you behind that wagon for a whole day!
Oh, no, you're not.
And just who are you?
Sergeant Thomas Williams, sir. It's my wagon.
And just what do you mean on these men riding your wagon?
These men are sick. This is my private property. I'll haul him whomever I please. These are my brethren. As long as there's room in my wagon, my team can still pull. I'll never leave one of them lying sick on the ground like you did Sanford Porter. Now we don't even know where he is.
How dare you talk to me like that? I'm gonna run you through.
One more move, I'll level you to the ground. Come on, Joseph.
What is this?
I told you, Smith. They've been taking their own stuff. I knew it.
What is this and who gave it to you?
Medicine, sir, from Moses Wade.
Wade? We ain't got a doctor named Wade.
You turn around, we don't. This Wade, he ain't a doctor. He's a Mormon.
Yeah, his medicine works a lot better than that poison Dr. Sanderson gives us.
Stop! I'm gonna grind it through your teeth and shove it down your throat.
All right, that's it. I've had it. Effective immediately. I'm issuing this order. Soldier, write this down. Dr. Sanderson is the doctor of this battalion, and no one, I say no one, is to order any form of medication without my permission. And anyone that is sick will report to Dr. Sanderson's wagon at the back of the wagon train.
That's the black wagon.
What did you say?
Nothing. Just repeating the circuit report to the back wagon.
Remember, Smith, I don't want them marching to Jim Along Joe.
And when you report, you will do so singing and marching to Jim Along Joe. And that's an order. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Doctor, get that little servant kid of yours. Samara, take this order to Adjutant Dykes and have him read it to every company. And, ask whether or not they found that missing one, a porter.
Yes, sir.
Come on, boys. Line now. This time for Jim Along Joe. Get out of there now. Left, right.
Come on, boys, Jim Along Joe. Step to the music, Jim Along Joe. Move your fingers, don't be slow.
Take your medicine.
Jim Along Joe.
My name is Dr. Stanley Smith from down Missouri way.
Dr. Jet.
Yeah, him and his calomel. What a joke. You mean it's poison?
He thinks calomel will cure everything.
Take calomel, take calomel, use the same it's all the number and more. And Dr. Zen, he cares for the sick. How can this be the truth? He gives us all our sending. Take calomel for this, take calomel for that. Dr. Sanderson is just a dirty old rat. Take calomel for this, take calomel for that. It's everything the doctor ordered, that's a matter of fact. He tells us all that you better bring it all down. And when it lies, he turns his head, going down all around. When he's done a little trick, you better take note. I'll shove it through your teeth and cram it down your throat. Take calomel for this, take calomel for that. Dr. Sanderson is just an old mama brat. Take calomel for this, take calomel for that. It's everything the doctor ordered, that's a matter of fact.
This hunger day continued. So Richard's boy was getting worse, and our Phelps died when Dr. Sanderson kept his promise and literally shoved a bottle of medicine through his teeth and crammed it down his throat.
Persecution.
Extermination.
Execution. Will it ever end?
I still don't understand why. When I signed up to go, I never thought of this.
I miss my parents. I wonder what my next mother's doing. I don't know if I want to keep going.
But they look to us to survive.
Sanford Porter.
You've been gone for days.
They said you were so bad.
I was so sick. I couldn't keep up. I fell to the ground and I thought for sure that I was gonna die. Then I said a prayer to the Lord and asked with all my faith if he'd spare my life. If there's yet a more important work for me to do here in this life. Then, incredibly, the pain was gone. I just got up. It didn't take long to catch up. Whatever our work is, it's an important mission. To that I testify.
Brothers and sisters, I think that Sanford's faith and testimony is a blessing from God. It's come to all of us at just the right time.
Come on, Sanford. We need to tell the others. They need to hear your story.
At Santa Fe, New Mexico, Colonel Cook was sent by the Army to take command of the battalion. The men were really relieved to know that Dr. Sanderson and Lieutenant Smith would no longer be in charge.
As you know, I have orders from General Kearney to proceed to California, taking the southern route where no one has ever gone. He wants us to build a road through the desert for access to California. Now, this will be an extremely tough job, and only the most fit will be able to go. I've ordered the sick and the women and children to Pueblo, Colorado. I'm sending Captain James Brown and 20 able-bodied men to accompany them. Now, if there are no further questions...
Sir, may I have a word with the Colonel, please?
Why, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Colonel, the four of us feel we have done a good job working with the battalion. We have walked every inch that they have walked and gone without food and water just as they have.
All the while doing our best to don't believe we've been an asset to the battalion. Just ask around.
Besides, sir, why should it always be that the women stay behind when there are some of us who can keep up with the men just fine?
I'm sorry, this is an extremely tough job, and I'm in a real hurry. But here's my deal. The four of you can go, but if anyone slows me down, I'll send you back all alone. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Myra was also allowed to go the rest of the way. But as for the other men, they were sending their wives and their children to some unknown location with very little provisions or help. This party was by far the most painful any of them had ever experienced. Some of those going to Pueblo were sick, and several of them died there. When the sick detachment reached Pueblo, Joseph Richards became gravely ill. All the battalion was saddened when they heard the news.
Mother, I need for her to know. Please tell her not to wait now. I'm not coming home, for it seems that time's against me, and I feel I can't go on. I know that she will manage, but I can go. I must go. I love you, Mother dear. I'll help you more than I could if I stay here.
story. Yes, it is. Daisy, I think we need to liven things up a bit. Why don't you tell Preston about the battalion's big fight?
Fight? Did Myra get his sword?
No, but they sure had a fight. The battalion men called it the Battle of the Bulls. It happened near the San Pedro River in Arizona. A wild herd of bulls charged the column and caused considerable damage. Levi Hancock was a battalion musician, and the men used to love to sing a song he wrote about the ferocious encounter. On Christmas Day of 1846, the battalion was camped at Maricopa, just south of Phoenix. They were gathered together for a big celebration.
Oh, Brother Hancock! For our Christmas celebration, would you please tell your song about wolves?
Oh, I'd be honored to know how I like to tell that story.
Hold on! Before you get started, look what we got here. People of Maricopa have given us a token of their friendship. Flour, corn, and this big green thing, whatever it is. Mr. Hope it's good. They say you Mormons are welcome to come and settle here along the river. Philemon Merrill and George Still have already been out and scouted the area. They say they found several places where farming would be possible.
I think that would be wonderful. Sister Brown, would you have an iron play part of the bull? Sisters, why don't you prepare for dancing? And we'd like to invite you to join in with us.
lovely child. And look at that smile. I have a present for you, little one.
Oh, bless you, Corporal Cook. I have never seen such happiness in a child's face. Bless you, child. Mr. Brown, where did Zamira disappear to? He's been such a good sport, I wanted to give him a Christmas present. A biscuit that isn't burned.
I'd like to give him one of mine, too. We know you burned the biscuits on purpose. They give the burnt edges to Zamira. We don't mind. He's a great kid.
Thanks, boys, for being so pretending not to notice. Thank you.
Samira used to say those little bone crumbs were like apple pie to him.
You have to be pretty hungry to eat that.
You're right. They suffered greatly. But the worst part of the trail lay ahead of them. Crossing the California desert and then over the mountains to the ocean. By the end of their 2,000-mile trek, they nearly wore the clothes right off their body.
Most of their shoes were completely worn out too, so they learned to make shoes by using the bark off of trees and wrapping cowhides around their feet.
There were many times they feared they would die, but they made it.
Yeah!
Traveling through our desert to the Tucson Valley, in Texas town in Texas, we found the Coastal Army. We marched ahead, prepared to fight, stopped to look behind me, and saw their army run away on the trail I left behind me.
Colonel Cook, this is the flag that flew over Mount View. Brigham Young gave it to me, and with the honor to use this flag to claim this territory.
Why, thank you, Mr. Hancock. We'll raise your flag in honor of the day that the Mormon Battalion marched into Tucson.
And without a shot being fired.
Hey, you know you're right. Not a shot was fired. How'd we manage that? Well, men, this flag will be the first flag to fly over Arizona.
Underneath the river built a boat, right by hand that sailing, so we heard the basket would not hold the string destined for waiting. And when we tried to pull it up, the raft began its shaking, and we lost our cargo, everything on the trail I left behind me. While traveling through West Canyon ways, also singing on me, the wagons were too wide to see to get to the valley. So we chipped and tipped and dug a way, we made a passage alley, and we squeezed them through the all go back on the left behind me. California distance where we suffer greatly from lack of water, clothes, and food. And it is full of mystery, was hot by day and cold by night. The rains came so untimely, they nearly washed our hopes away, and saw the sea beyond me. We made it. We made it. We made it through. We made it. We made it. We made it through. Over the Alps,
congratulate the battalion on a safe arrival and conclusion of a march of over 2,000 miles. We've made our way over mountains and cut a passage through rocks more narrow than our wagons. We marched half naked and half fed, living upon wild animals. We've made and discovered a road of great value to our country. And now,
Colonel Cook, sir.
Yes, Captain.
Before we're dismissed, the men would like to pay tribute to the women of the battalion.
By all means, proceed, Captain.
Ladies, would you honor us by stepping forward, please? Melissa Correa, Susan Davis, Lydia Hunter, and last but not least, the mother of the battalion, Phoebe Palmer Brown. Ladies, we thank you. You have been our special angels sent from God. You've washed, cooked, and cared for us with sin, all without complaint, even though you walked and suffered just as we did. To each of you, we give our utmost respect.
Our special angels sent to us from God above, sent to nurture and to help us grow. We feel God's love. God knew that a woman would have faith to believe that this life would not be easy. So he created Mother Eve. There was a woman at the beginning of all great things. It was a woman that knew sacrifice would heaven's blessings bring. As a woman, you were called by our Father up above to be our special angels. Through you, we feel God's love.
Battalion, cut! Lieutenant Smith will now take charge of the mustering out ceremony. Battalion, you are dismissed.
Yeah!
they survived without a shot being fired, just like Brigham Young had promised. Some of the people thought the battalion had made no contribution to the war.
But the fact is, Preston, the battalion made several very important contributions to the war. For one, the road they built through California and Arizona actually changed history.
How?
Well, the U.S. had won the war and decided to make the U.S.-Mexico border along the Gila River. When they found out about the road the battalion had made and realized how valuable it would be, they moved the border further south to include all of the road.
Otherwise, places like Tucson, Thatcher, and St. David would have been part of Mexico.
Another thing they did was they built nearly all the buildings in the town center of San Diego. None of the other troops did anything like that.
But actually, Preston, most of the battalion contributions came after the war. For example, did you know it was 6 battalion boys who discovered gold in California?
You mean they discovered gold? You understand the gold rush?
That's right. You see, one day those 6 battalion boys came running into camp.
Gold! 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 Beautiful gold! 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 We found gold!
Go, go! They found gold! What's that? Go, go, go! Beautiful gold!
Gold, 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 beautiful gold. Gold, 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 gold. We found gold. We were working at Summersville. The water sugar broke and washed away the hills. We walked over there to behold the golden diamonds lying there. That's how we found gold.
Not so handsome and not so blue. I'm sure it's weird. I'll get close to this afternoon. We are so pretty. I'll say it won't. We always say just what we want. 'Cause that's how we got gold. Gold, 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 gold. Beautiful gold. Gold, 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 gold.
We found gold. We are merchants here in this camp. For sure they'll come to us for food and clothes and pants. When they get hungry, they'll want you know. We know it bring the prices up, that's how we come gold. While they're dancing and having fun, we'll go right out till they're playing the fun has just begun. And when they go back, they will be told. And from the cloud, don't you believe that's how we come gold. Gold, 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 beautiful gold. Gold, 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 we got gold. We were working at Josephville. The water sugar broke and washed away the hill. We walked over the city gold. The golden stars lying there, that's how we got gold. Gold, 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 beautiful gold. Gold, 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 we got gold.
I never knew the battalion boys discovered gold. Hey, is Myra there too?
He was. He was working for Mr. Sutter and had his own little gold mine he worked there for a while. Why, do you know he found enough gold to buy himself a wagon and some horses?
One of the real benefits of the gold discovery came when those battalion boys gave a large amount of gold to Brigham Young so he could buy land where Ogden, Utah is today.
But actually, the greatest benefit started They were desperate for supplies, so the Saints sold them all they needed.
The Saints earned a lot of much-needed money during the gold rush.
That's amazing. It's like God has the whole thing planned out.
I think he did. Once again, the battalion was able to help the church in a time of need.
That wasn't their only contribution. When they got to Utah, they were Brigham Young's chosen workforce. Whenever he had a tough job to do, he'd call on the battalion to get it done. It's like when Johnston's army came to raid Salt Lake during the Utah War. Guess who he called?
Wait. Johnston's army, Utah War?
Right before the Civil War, a group of Mormon haters convinced the President of the United States that Utah was in rebellion and wanted to break away from the Union. Now, President Buchanan thought he'd make an example out of us and show the South what would happen to them if they tried to leave the Union.
The President sent 5,000 troops. That's nearly 2/3 of the U.S. Army to go squash the rebellion.
We had to fight 2/3 of the U.S. Army?
Well, almost. Brigham Young knew he could clear things up if he could somehow get the truth to Washington. In the meantime, he sent his own little army up into the mountains to harass and slow down the U.S. troops, just long enough to get the truth to the President.
My father was part of that little army. In fact, Preston, that's where he got his sword. When he was captain in Brigham's little army called the Nauvoo Legion.
Oh, he was a captain in the Nauvoo Legion.
Yeah? And he wrote a song about the raids on Johnston's army. All of his children, as well as everyone else in town, used to love to sing it with him.
I'll sing you a song the soldiers make about our late campaign. When federal troops tried to take Salt Lake and rob us of peace again. Evil men told the president that we were the enemy. He said that we had our mind made up to become our own country.
General Johnston, he didn't want to wait, so he gathered up his army and he headed towards Salt Lake.
'Twas August of 1857, we prepared to go 500 miles to the Devil's Gate, our mission to stop the foe. At length our foe came into our sight, and glad we would have been to pounce upon him with all our might, but that was not the plan.
Johnston, Johnston, he really likes to strut. Johnston, Johnston, we're gonna kick your
That was not the plan. The plan was to sneak in the cover of night and dump their food on the ground, then burn their wagons and free their mules while the soldiers were sleeping sound. We watched them march on the grassy trail, and on the count of
1, 2, 3.
we burned the grass, should have seen them run. Brigham's plan worked perfectly.
Johnson, Johnson, our message loud and clear. You have entered the grizzly bear, but you cannot come here.
We let them pass through Salt Lake Square. The trail stretched 8 miles long. From dawn till dusk, 5,000 men marched to clear us, 'cause they were wrong. We need not the frost nor the snow that flies. We're tough as ever can be. With God's help we'll defend our rights, and we'll fight for liberty. Johnston, Johnston,
memories of my father. He was always so busy being called from one job to another. When he was home, he really enjoyed singing.
Where'd he go?
Brigham Young was constantly sending the North Blue Legion, which was mostly battalion boys, on special assignments. That reminds me of another story about Sir Myra's dream.
Sally, I had that dream again last night.
That's strange. You keep having that same dream over and over again.
Well, this was different this time. And I think I understand some of it now.
Really? Tell me about it.
Well, like always, I'm trying to cross this river, but I keep getting caught in the rapids. But this time I looked to the shore and I saw these big trees standing on solid ground. I reached up to grab one of the branches, but I couldn't hold on. The rapids kept pulling me away. And then I woke up. And like always, I never made it to the other side. But I think that the trees are like those people who have their feet firmly planted in one place. Not like me, who's always dragging you and the kids all over everywhere.
So, Myra Palmer, I've never heard such negative words from you.
Sally, can you ever forgive me for moving you so many times? Just yesterday, I heard one of your relatives say that I was nothing but a nomadic bum.
Nomadic bum? How dare they? And who do they think they are? You should know better. Most of you battalion boys have done nothing but answer one call after another ever since arriving in Utah. In Draper, you were in the bishopric when your mother's family settled there. Why, you were called to settle Heber City. You were the constable there. You ran the ferry on the Green River. Then it was back to winter quarters, where you were a guide on the Mormon Trail. You rescued handcart company stuck in the snow.
I don't think she did.
There were the raids in the Utah War. Then you helped protect Mormon saints in the Black Hawk Indian War.
Really, they didn't mean any harm.
You had to settle that muddy river in Nevada.
They really
You and I both hauled rock in our own wagon for the St. George Temple.
Sally, they didn't.
Then we worked in the cotton fields until you were called to run the United Order in Springdale, and now you're a bishop here in Orderville. Every last one of your battalion members has served diligently and without complaint. Why? Because the prophet asked us to. Nomadic bum. Why, if you're a nomadic bum, then I'm a gypsy queen and proud of it. So, Myra, has there ever been a place you've gone to that wasn't a call from the prophet?
Well, yes, Sally. There was one. When I went to the school to meet you. Ones we love so dearly, we have built a memory to remember through it all. Though the years have come and gone, it really doesn't seem so long, loving through good times and hard times, together make our love grow strong. Through it all, we've been together. Through everything we say and do. Through it all, I always have and will always love you. Through
lot of other folks to settle there. In fact, Preston, nearly every Mormon settlement in Arizona was influenced by or settled by a member of the battalion number.
Settling Arizona was just one of the many benefits of the battalion.
I still remember the day we were called. We were at General Conference in St. George. Brigham Young was speaking, and right there, without any advance notice, he named all the families that were to pack up their things and head for Arizona. Some of the places those pioneers settled were Joseph City, Taylor, Snowflake, Heber,
Dolo,
Thatcher,
St. David,
Lehigh, Mesa, and many others. In fact, Brigham Young inspired the settlement of so many places that the people called him the Moses of the West.
We're going to Arizona, not just because we wanna. We're going 'cause it's all our Brigham Young. Brigham Young! Brigham had a vision, and he could see the wisdom of sending men to settle all the West. He called frontier men who were tough and strong and true, inspiring knowledge, none of them to do what they would do. They settled many towns, they settled Mesa too. The tall around the seas, prophecy come true. We're going to Arizona, not just because we wanna. We're going 'cause we're called by Brigham Young. Brigham Young! Brigham had a vision, and he could see the wisdom, so he was called the Moses of the West. It was very hard to leave our home and family that loved our nation and start again. We're going to Arizona, not just because we wanna. We're going 'cause we're called by Brigham Young. Brigham Young!
Grandma Sally, how come you and Grandma Samira didn't come to Arizona?
because Samira's calling was to help United Order work in Orderville.
Hey, Grandma, was that co-op store in Taylor part of the United Order?
It sure was, Preston. Nearly every settlement here in Arizona tried to live the United Order.
How come we still won't do it?
Well, there are a lot of reasons. Mainly, new government laws made it nearly impossible to do. Let me tell you a story about how blue jeans caused some of the problems.
Blue jeans?
Yep. One day, a bunch of boys about your age were playing around.
Oh, John, your outfit looks so nice. Why, thanks, William. I got it about 5 years ago. Yeah, these things last forever. Yeah, I know how that song can go like this. Orderville pants, they never wear out. They last and last and last and last. I'm so tired of these pants. Yeah, I sure wish there was some way that we could get some of those new kind of blue jeans. Oh, no kidding. I've seen them on kids in other towns and they look so nice. Yeah, but they don't live in no order. And have to wear these pants that last and last and last and last. Hey, Billy, where'd you get new blue jeans? But how long did you wear your order with pants? Over my backside. No, Billy, we want to know how you got some of those new blue jeans. Oh! Billy, what are you talking about? Just listen. I'm the talk of town. I'm a real cute pup. Got blue jeans 'cause I'm old showed up.
one. I agree. Now, before I tell you my last story, there's something I need to do. Aisie, could you hand me the sword, please? Preston, this sword is very precious to me and to Zamira. Preston Palmer, I want to give this sword to you. Remember these stories. They are your heritage.
I will, Grandma Sally. Thank you.
Now for this last story. It's very dear to me. When Zamira was a young man working in the gold field, he fell off his horse and severely injured his stomach. Why, he had problems with it all his life. I'll never forget that last morning. It was October 21st, 1880. Zamira had suffered through the night with terrible pain, and I thought he'd gone to work the next morning, but he walked back into the room and told me he had that same dream again. Only this time, he'd gone through the rapids and reached the other side of the shore. I didn't understand at the time, but now I know that in his dream, the river was his life. The rapids were the trials of his life. And the shore on the other side was the end of his life. From his time in the battalion all the way to the end, he answered every call the prophet gave him and willingly sacrificed and dedicated his life to the service of others. Zamira was a common man who went through many trials in his life. He was caught in the rapids of his dreams, just like a ram caught in the thicket. But he said it was his faith in God that carried him through it all.
Zamira, I thought you'd left.
I can't, Sally. It's my stomach. The pain just won't go away this time. I saw Doc pass by the window. Could you go get him for me?
Here, let's take some of your medicine.
I did, Sally. It's not working anymore.
Will you just take a bit more? I'll go get the doctor.
Thank you, Sally. Oh, if only Doc Sanderson could see me now.
Zamira, lie down. Is the pain getting worse this time?
Oh, it's really bad, Doc. Oh.
It's not good. Zamira, I think that gold-filled injury has finally gotten the best of you. Zamira, you better take out your book and mark down your time.
Doc?
I'm sorry. It won't be long now.
Sally. The shore. I reached the shore. That means that
Please.
Sally, where are our children?
Our children are just outside. Would you get them,
please? Dearest Father, how can I go? I must stay with Sally. She needs me so. My family's young yet. Please let me stay. I am too young to die. Dear Father, hear me pray. Have I done all I can to help them understand? To know just who you are, you must know who you came from. Have I left a legacy to help them in their quest for eternity? Will they be all right? Will they see the light? They need me. Jimmy, there's so much to be done. It's going to be up to you.
I'll be here to take care of the family. But don't you see, living in the orders we do, it's the greatest blessing of all. There'll be no more need to take care of Mother than there ever was. All you've done to build up the order. Now it'll take care of the family for you.
I have such fine children.
Through it all we see blessings of our life together, living love in harmony. Our love will last forever.
Through it all, we have precious ones we love so dearly. We have built a memory to remember through it all. Have I done all I can? Do they understand? To know just who you are, you must know who you came from. This legacy, the link within your chain to eternity. I can see the light, everything's alright. I come to thee.
Now, can you see why Zamira is my hero?
Yes, he's my hero too.
Just like Zamira, there are so many heroes that we can look up to show us the way. My hero is the common man, living throughout all the land. Here upon this earth, they walk upon its face, doing acts of love, every gender, every race. We see them everywhere we go, some strangers, some we know, but the foundation, heart and soul of every place. And through our history, living life decently, they make the
our Mormon Battalion ancestors. We have compiled a list of Mesa Kimball State members who are descended from Mormon Battalion men and women. Kevin will read a battalion name, and then I will read the descendants' names. We ask that when you hear your name called, you stand and remain standing until the end of the reading. If you're not a member of our state, but you do have an ancestor who is a Mormon Battalion member, we invite you to stand also and stay standing until you hear the end of the reading. And we ask that there be no applause during the reading of the names.
Battalion member Elijah Allen.
Russ and Mary Nielsen and family.
Bedlin Allred.
Jeff and Carolyn Clifford and family.
James R. Allred.
Dale and Myrna Borden, Jeff and Carolyn Clifford and families.
James T. Allred.
Dale and Myrna Borden and family.
Reddick Allred.
Wayne and Paula Evans and family.
Reuben Allred.
Jeff and Carolyn Clifford, Bob and Barbara Crum, Dale and Myrna Borden and families.
Ruel Paris.
Mark and Jill Balloff and family.
Erastus Bingham.
James and Jolene Allen and family.
Phoebe Palmer Brown.
Kevin and Vicki Palmer and family.
Edward Bunker,
Jeff and Carolyn Clifford and family.
James Camp,
Kurt and Julie McFarland and family.
John Casier,
James and Jolene Allen and family.
Mr. Clausen,
Sherry and Lynn Skousen and family.
Charles Edwin Colton,
Marjorie and Reed Price and family.
Philander Colton,
Glenna McCowan, Marjorie and Reed Price and family.
Peter M. Fife,
Jeff and Dana Grosskost and family.
Thomas L. Frazier,
Noel and Lydia Frazier and family.
James H. Lyons,
Norm and Miriam King and family.
Levi Hancock,
Nelson and Diana Barba. Doug and Lucy Perkins. Bill and Dibby Tyndall. David and Sherilyn Wilson. Stan and Susan Martineau and families.
Shadrach Holdaway,
Boyd and Becky Thacker and family.
Jonathan H. Holmes,
Garth and Cindy Woodbury and family.
Wilford Hudson,
Saul and Kerma Solorzano and family.
Abraham Hunsaker,
Ray and Lynn Anderson. Kurt and Lola Dana. Monty and Marianne Hogle and family.
Jefferson Hunt,
Andy and Colleen Shumway. Bob and Terry Flaherty. Monty and Marianne Hogle. Sherwood and Lori Hamlin. Chris and Sharon Lindblom. Colin and Karen Udall and families.
and Barry Lindblom and family also. Thomas Karen,
Wendell and Carolyn Jones. Russ and Mary Nielsen. Larry and Margaret Manning. Doug and Martha Moyer and families.
John M. King,
Norm and Miriam King. Jeff and Dana Grosskost.
Lisbon Lamb,
Richard and Nancy Randall and family.
Christopher Layton,
Mark and Cindy Fast. Noel and Lydia Frazier. Daryl and Bernadine Huber. Scott and Vicki Overstreet and families.
William McClellan,
David and Rosalind Ellsworth. Wayne and Paula Evans. Peter and Mary Ann Ramash. Becky and Ricky Sanborn. Wes Thomas and families.
Thelmo Merrill,
Glenna McGowan and family.
Philemon Merrill,
Debbie and Mark Allen and family.
John Conrad Nagley,
Stuart Olson and family.
James Oakley,
Richard and Susan Ray. Doug and Patty Steiner and families.
James Pace,
Steve and Peggy Peterson. Merle and Marilyn Halls. Coy and Kathy Lindblom. Paul and April Allen and families.
Zamira Palmer,
Kevin and Vicki Palmer and family.
William Park,
Wayne and Paula Evans and family.
Sanford Porter,
David and Sherilyn Wilson. Kevin and Jody Horn. Flora and Christy Porter. Kevin and Vicki Palmer and families.
John Riston,
Ron and Oreen Wright and family.
David Pulsifer,
Russ and Kaylin Skadeland and family.
Peter Richards,
Mark and Jill Balloff and family.
Samuel Hollister Rogers,
Wilford and Charlotte Taylor and families.
William R. Rust,
Wayne and Colleen Carton and family.
Henry W. Sanderson,
Reed and Sandra Jones and family.
Levi Savage,
Wendell and Carolyn Jones and family.
Lot Smith,
Paul and April Allen and family.
Henry Standage,
Doug and Heather Nelson. Russell and Shelley Klaus. Michael and Chris LeBaron. Larry and Adele LaSwear. Jan and John Carroll. And David and Cheryl Camard and families.
Roswell Stevens,
Dave and Laura Lee Hoffman and family.
Rufus Stoddard,
Lynn and Sherry Skousen and family.
Elijah Thomas,
Barry and Kimberly Thomas and family.
Edward Wade and Moses Wade,
Lauren and Holly Ashby and family.
Alvin Whiting and Edmund Whiting,
Dale and Myrna Borden. Dallas and Julie Peterson and families.
George Wilson,
Norm and Miriam King and family.
Jeremiah Whiting,
Larry and Margaret Manning and families.
and any of you that have other battalion member relations or relatives that we haven't read their names, please stand so we can honor them also. Wonderful.
Thank you for attending this evening. We ask you to remember that if you have someone you'd like to meet on the stage, please don't come up on the stage, but meet your family outside.
Audience, attention! All ask me, front center. Please.
Thank you for coming.